Oh man, I have been waiting a long time to interview this guy. He's going to be making his fierce debut in just a couple of weeks live from the Masonic Temple. It's none other than Darien Orvin contesting for another title in the state of Utah. Darien, how you been, my man?
Still alive, so it could be better, but everything's all right.
I think I want to start off really quickly. How's the gym going? I know it's still relatively within its infancy, but it's coming up on a year and a half, 2 years since it's been open.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything's been going really good. We recently got Jake Paul from Snake Pit to come over and just help coach some technique and stuff. Our team keeps on going. We've got people that come in and just want to improve themselves as martial artists and whatever. And so, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the opportunity just to be around and help people. That's kind of like our core message is just mental health and helping people out in that aspect. And for that, even helping one or two people is our mission. Like, even if it is one or two, or whether it's 100 or so, uh, even though it's still a small team, I'm happy with where it's at.
What is kind of like the day to day for you specifically? I know it was a treacherous schedule early on. Is it still like that? Is it still just a constant grind building up this gym, or how's it been?
Yeah, no, it sucks. Like every day, I wake up at 6 and go to work, and then I work straight from like 6:30 or 7 in the morning until like 2:30 or 3. I get home and I shower and I go to the gym from 4 till I mean I coach like 4 to 7 or 8, and then I go to wherever I can to train.
Wow.
So yeah, it's tiring a little bit.
Every day you wake up and it is fighting from the second you wake up until the moment you go to bed. Does it ever feel like work, or is it always, man, I really do get to live my dream and make a living off of martial arts?
Kids class feels like work. But besides that, it's just fun. I get to hang out with my friends and beat people up, and working with the kids, I get to beat kids up, so that's fun too. So it all works out. But yeah, I don't really ever get tired of it. I don't really watch like UFC fights and stuff like that anymore. Kind of burnt out on that aspect. But I like to follow the regional scene a lot though, so
You
it's good balance.
you are a big fan of the regional scene, and personally, like as someone who's very involved in the regional scene as well, I really appreciate it. What do you who I guess I should say this, who do you particularly enjoy watching? Who are you a big fan of on the local scene, whether it be here, Idaho, Vegas, wherever?
Oh man, really anybody. Anytime one of the Mamone boys fights, I like to watch them. Amin Garcia, just powerful strikers. I like to watch powerful strikers a lot. Um, People with slick submission grappling skills like Tyler Harden and Beck Shields. I like to watch those guys. Uh, and a few other people scattered in between, but yeah, mostly just the exciting ones that everybody generally likes to watch. And then just having the emotional attachment to people who are my friends and stuff like that plays a big impact into actually being entertained by the fight.
Where are you primarily training right now? Is it the Pit SLC? Is it your own spot?
It's wherever I possibly can pop in for a day or two. So, I would say most of my training is um, obviously, I guess at my gym. I kind of get instruction from my coach, Sean Cross. He tells me one thing, or he tells me an aspect to work on in my game. And as I'm drilling with my people, I'll be like, okay, today Sean said to work on double legs. We're working double legs all day. So he kind of points me in the right direction, and I lead my people there. And then, as much as I can, I love to go out to Willa. I really love those guys out there. They're super high level. I mean, Derek Jorgensen's kind of one of my main training partners when I do go there. And then Factum, they don't really have an MMA program, but their Muay Thai teachers there are awesome. So I get to go out there and spar with them. And then first BJJ, I'll go out there and just work with those guys. They're a lot of fun. So
Derek Jorgensen obviously coming off a big time win just a couple of days ago. What'd you make of that fight? Were you able to watch it?
I caught the highlights. I wasn't able to watch it. I was out in Mexico, but I knew it would be. I knew he'd do it. So.
I wanted to ask you, Darren, you're a very interesting case in the sense of you started off your career kind of a 500 fighter. 2-2-1 is how you started things off. You've now rattled off six of your last seven. What changed in your life, in your training? How did you become someone who was kind of middle of the line to now, obviously, you're contesting for titles week after week, month after month, I should say?
Um, I will pay a lot of respects to the Pit SLC. I don't go there as often as I used to, but just being able to be with their grapplers got my grappling to a pretty high level. So that was a big change. And I mean, even during some of those losses, I was at the pit, but uh, it all just started to click after a while. But really, like something that I tell my students, win, lose, or draw, or whatever, is I tell them when I started, I was the most like unathletic, untalented fighter that's ever stepped foot into the gym. Like I was just not good. But all the guys that I started with and lost to in the past, I am now better than them strictly because I stuck with it when they didn't. Um, and being able to have my gym and being able to be connected with Sean Cross and Rob Eastman, I was able to get a lot more ingrained into the culture of MMA and meet a lot more people. And that's given me the opportunities to be able to go out to Tooele and train, to go out to Jeremy Horns or wherever I can and train with all these different people. So really, when I was able to take over the gym and make MMA really my life focus, it changed a lot of things for me mentally and just schedule wise. Like I'm either constantly learning or training every single day.
You fought a handful of different guys, 15 total as an amateur, which is a staggering number. Do you have a toughest guy that you ever faced? A guy who maybe made you a little bit more nervous than everyone else?
I was really nervous to fight Robin Veitch. Weiss, I don't know. I think it's Robin Weiss. Just because he was a big, scary Viking looking dude, and he had like a first round knockout in his previous fight. I said before in an interview that I did, like if I could, I don't care for chasing rematches as an amateur, or even really as a pro. Like you're gonna win and lose. If I were to have to pick a rematch, I would go against Robin. Not that I believe I could beat him, just I know I could do better than I did. So I was pretty intimidated to go up against him. And then I have long maintained, even before we fight, or even before we fought, and now after we had fought, that Tyler Harden is probably on paper for me the toughest matchup. Like I don't have knockout power like Talon and Ricky, so I'm gonna have to point fight him until he quits. And as soon as he gets me down to the ground, he's gonna submit me. He's got crazy submission skills.
You know, you are such a showman when you walk out. And I know people talk about this all the time. You kind of talked about it that you were a day one, no training backing kind of guy when you stepped into the gym, but you did grow up through kind of the theater side of things. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I did a choir theater. I got all
Yeah.
these like biggest, nerdiest choir kid award and stuff in high school. So,
How much of that backing has helped you in terms of building up your brand? Because I feel like a lot of people know you obviously for your fighting, but also because you are entertaining when you're making your way out to the cage and being yourself out there.
I feel like it definitely plays a part. In my last fight, with David Fan a few weeks ago, I was talking to some audience members afterwards. They're like, "Oh, we loved your walkout. It was so fun." I was like, "Oh, thanks." Like, I just like to, put on entertaining walkouts. Like, if it's just the same generic rap or rock or whatever, people forget about it. And some lady's like, "Oh, are you the guy that walked out to Phantom of the Opera?" So like, people recognize me for doing these crazy walkouts, and makes me happy. So I'm glad with it.
I remember the "I'm just Ken" one very specifically. That's probably my
Yeah.
favorite if I could say myself. This will be your seventh walk in 14 months. Is there any reason for the urgency, or is it just simply you're available and you'd like to fight?
Yeah, I'm available. I like to fight. When I sit around and I'm not fighting, the voices get louder, so I gotta try and stay active.
Your 15th fight coming into this, including Muay Thai. For you, do you have a goal or a plan of when you want to become a pro?
Oh yeah, pro is next for sure.
Okay.
Told Zach last year that I was like, I'm going pro in like January or February, and then that didn't end up working out. Like, um, I look to a lot of different people for guidance as to what to do with my career decisions and a lot of different aspects. And for this, I was asking my dad, I was like, look, should I sit around and wait for this was back in January when Logan was injured. I was like, should I sit around and wait for him to recover or should I go pro? He said to sit around and wait. So the way that I kind of look at it, as soon as I go pro, I'm gonna get paid like maybe if I'm lucky 400 and 400. So not very much money. Like $800, dude, I can pick that up off the street. But being able to have Utah 155 title unification, three belts or whatever, it'll look super cool. For me wanting to grow myself in popularity, to grow my gym in popularity, um, three cool shiny belts that when somebody walks in and they look and see that seems like a lot more of a statistic, I guess, that they can visually see rather than me just telling them I'm a pro fighter like anybody else. So that's kind of how I decided just to stay amateur a little bit longer. So after this one, I'll be going pro.
This might be a silly question, but how proud are you of what you've been able to accomplish, specifically as an amateur? Because, like we talked about, you have a lengthy resume in this specific spot of your career. Has it been something that you've always hoped that you'd be able to accomplish, or has it kind of just gone along and you've gone with the advice and adhered to your dad and everyone else that you surround yourself with?
I just went with the advice. Like, Sean Cross has been another really big factor in my development as an athlete. When I first started boxing and actually taking it serious, I was like, okay, this time I'm going to stay until I get one fight. Then I got that one fight. I was like, okay, now I'm going to stay until I win a fight. Then a few fights later, I finally won something. And then I was like, okay, like I'll just see what happens. And then I was like, I want to win a state title. I want to win more state titles. I want to go pro. So I'm just kind of seeing what happens.
How important is it to unify those belts? Obviously, the steel fist ones that you have won already, and then that fierce one in a couple of weeks.
It will be it'll be a predetermined goal that I've accomplished. So, I believe it was Albert Einstein was talking about what a successful person is. I could be totally wrong about who it was, but their definition of a successful person was someone who accomplishes a predetermined worthwhile goal. So this is my predetermined worthwhile goal is accomplishing the unification of these belts. So if I get it, I get another little successful check mark on top of the other things I've tried at in my life and the thousands, I mean, hopefully not among the thousands of things that I failed at in my life as well. So,
How important are those failures that you talk about?
oh, I am who I am because of all the failures that I've had in my life. My losses inside and outside the cage, they really built me to be able to be who I am and give more meaningful advice to people who are struggling as well. I'm able to reference financial failures that I've had, relationship failures that I've had, and the things that I did in my life to overcome those challenges. And hopefully, for some of them, it resonates with them, and they're able to uh, pick up some advice from it. And for others, they just get to look at me as someone who I pretty openly fail when I do fail. I don't try and hide it and shove it under the rug. People who look up to me can look at me and be like, "Oh, wow, he fails just as often, or probably even more often than I do."
How have you been able to stay healthy with such a clustered calendar? Again, 7 fights, you're averaging a fight every other month for the past year plus. So, how is the body holding up?
Well, last week was the first week that I took off that I really didn't do anything ever as far back as I can remember. I don't think I've ever like not done anything, which I did play volleyball, but like it was against like people on a cruise. So they're not really, it wasn't really like an athletic phenomenon I put on. But I'm not really sure. I think I'm super smart about who I pick to train with. I have no problem telling people to cool down or relax. And when I am injured, I find ways to work around the injury. I broke my knuckle in my fight, and it still like kind of hurts to make a fist. And I think they told me it's like a 6 week healing process. By the time the fight comes around, I got like 2 weeks out before my fight. It's either I could sit around and do nothing for those 6 weeks, or I can work on all my other tools. I don't punch very hard anyway, so I don't really need to work on punching power. So just working around the injuries smartly and also being smart about who I work with.
I love being able to talk to you because you have had the opportunity to sit in those broadcasting chairs. You've called fights. You obviously host the Steel Fist podcast, which you do a fantastic job as. What is that like, and how do you enjoy adding that shade to your martial arts resume?
So part of the reason that I have now gained confidence in myself as a fighter, is because of my analytical ability. And now I have to have even more accurate analytical ability as I'm calling fights or as I'm going out and saying all these things in the podcast. Um, I feel like I have to have a lot more knowledge about the fights and about, how fighting actually works because of these opportunities that have been presented. So when I go out and I say like, oh, this guy needs to, not sit on the cage because every time he sits on the cage, he gets taken down. And then that actually happens. I'm like, okay, so now when I look at a fighter and I'm like, okay, this guy's double leg takedown is really bad. I know where I need to work to, improve myself to be able to stop their fighting. So, I feel like it's developed me as a martial artist for sure to be able to now be put on the spot to have accurate analysis, and more often than not I feel like I'm right.
You do a very good job. It's always great to hear you on the sticks. That brings me to my next question, which is you've been eyeing Logan Taylor since the time he exited the cage when he won the belt in November of last year. So for you, who's someone who has a lot of fights under his resume, you've been looking at Logan for a while now. Have you been looking at him analytically since the moment that he beat Talon Carvalho by decision?
Even when I was a featherweight, I always watch one division above me just in case they come down, and one division below me just in case they come up. I watch everybody in my division and also those other divisions. So I've been watching Logan Taylor since his very first fight ever. Um, and then I was pretty sure that Talon would have won that fight. But Logan impresses me every single time he goes out there and fights. So, I mean, I have been watching him, and I told Pat because Pat wanted me to fight David Fan. I was like, I don't really care to fight him. It's just another wrestler, and all my fights have been up against wrestlers. So I'd rather fight for another belt. But I was like, most likely Talon's gonna win. He didn't win. So then I was like, as soon as he didn't, I texted Pat and I texted Zach. I was like, okay, hey, this is what I want to do. Like, Talon avenged my loss against Tyler Harden, so now I want to avenge Talon's loss.
What did you make of the scorecards? And there was a lot of controversy that loomed around that fight, specifically that second round in which Talon landed a big time knockdown. Wasn't called. Some people were saying it was a travesty. Some people were saying it was completely merited. What were your thoughts? Because I remember seeing you live. I think I saw you moments after in the bathroom at the Masonic Temple, and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Oh, it makes sense you're here."
Yeah, yeah. I agree with them. I don't agree with the 50-45, but I was like, I could really score that either way. And I had a feeling, I was like, okay, yeah, I think Logan won that one for sure. So something that I really hope Logan doesn't interpret this as disrespect, but I don't fully believe that Logan beat Talon more. Talon's cardio beat himself because Talon has pretty bad cardio management after the first two rounds. So that was something that I kind of really picked up on and made from that fight.
Logan seems like a pretty level-headed guy. I don't think there'll be any disruptions because of that. Let me ask you this. How often do you get the chance to train with Talon? I know you said you don't really get to the Pit SLC as much as you'd like to anymore, but I would assume in those earlier days, those first few years, you were alongside him a lot in that room.
Yeah, we trained a lot together. He was probably my primary training partner when I was there. Um, Really, when he started getting super good and super active is when I wasn't around as much. But we have sparred each other enough, and we are similar enough in styles that when we do spar each other, we'll do full like 5 minute rounds without hardly landing a punch on each other because we both know each other's moves so well because it's the same exact thing. He hits a little bit harder, I hit a little bit more and have a little bit cardio. That's really the only difference between us. So he's
Sure.
awesome to have around.
Volume versus power. How do you see that all aligning alongside Logan Taylor on May 16th?
Um, I'm not gonna drop Logan, probably. I've never dropped anybody officially. Um, so I think that, not fighting at Logan's pace like Talon did. Talon let Logan set the pace the whole entire time. If I put my own pace and I get us both super tired, I usually persevere a little bit better than my opponent has in the past. In my last Muay Thai fight I did, I threw like 320 strikes in a 360-second fight. So I can throw a punch per second theoretically. I didn't really train very much for that fight, so maybe if I train more for this one, I can throw a punch per second and just kind of drown him out with my volume. But that being said, we don't really know what his cardio is like because the only time he's gone to a decision was when he was setting his own pace and fighting however he wanted to.
I will have that statistic on my board. Make sure to go back and cross reference, make sure that's all correct. And I will look forward to saying it on the broadcast when you start to throw a little bit of volume. Is Logan Taylor the toughest guy you've ever fought?
No, I'm gonna think I'm still sticking with Tyler Harden.
Okay.
Tyler Harden's going to be the hardest matchup for me. Logan might agree. Tyler submitted Logan Taylor in a grappling tournament up in Idaho like a year and a half ago. So he doesn't have the submission capabilities that Tyler does, and submissions are kind of my weak point, I guess. He is a really good grappler. I believe full pure wrestling. I think David Tham's probably a full like better MMA wrestler than him, but full well-roundedness in the MMA grappling and also the striking. Logan's definitely got everybody that I fought beat in that aspect as like a well-rounded martial artist.
As
So
a
that is something that has me excited.
May 16th, live from the Masonic Temple, title on the line for Darien Orvin. Darien, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it, my man.
Yeah, you're welcome, of course.